Hello, everyone, and welcome to my second edition of Just Ask Jasmine. And what is that, right? Just Ask Jasmine is just my little version of an advice slash education vlog. I decided to actually do this because I usually get a lot of messages in my DM, messages about um, being transgendered and sex reassignment surgeries and post-op care and HIV and AIDS and prevention and other STIs and men who date trans women. And I get a bunch of questions, and usually I sometimes, if they're respectful, um, I don't mind answering questions like one-on-one because I'm very transparent, right? But I kind of figured that why don't I kind of have my own platform where I can answer these questions to the masses, right? Because if one person has a question about changing one's sex or just being transgendered and what that really means, there are a thousand other people who have that very same question. And gender is a little complicated. Okay, it's very complicated. And I think that the reason why people have such an interest slash disdain, or they're confused, or they think that people like that are confused, is because it's really difficult to understand how someone who was born with one sex, physically one sex, like male, and they identify as being the opposite sex, female, and how that is kind of reconciled in one's head. That's very complicated. And if you don't have that experience or that personal experience, it can be very confusing to understand. I get that. So tonight's conversation topic is going to be on the actual transition process, um, the actual sex reassignment surgery, right? Post-op care and what that means. And I'm also going to answer a question from a young guy. He's 20, way from Memphis, right? And he asked me to explain men who date trans women and men who find trans women attractive. Okay, you've heard the whole Malik Yoba story. Okay, he's not the only one, guys, right? He's not the only one. Okay, and in my book I have a little story about that. um yeah, so yeah, and it was kind of cool. Okay, so I'm going to try to debunk some of the misconceptions about men who date trans women, and whether they consider themselves gay or bisexual or straight or whatever, or whether they actually do identify on like any level. Okay, so sit on down, have a seat. I got my tea. Let's dish. Okay. That's kind of nasty. Ew. Gross. Okay. No, because I'm like seeing myself do it on a video, and my lips were like, ooh, yeah. No, it wasn't cute. I apologize. Um, so, question number one. Question one is this: a young lady wanted me to explain last episode's question about trans women and why disclosing is so important. And of course, I'm going to always get opposite opinions. and or pushback. And that's fine, okay? So I'm not the end all be all to any of my statements. It's just, in my opinion, from my experience, I'm giving you practical solutions / advice from my perspective that have proven to work for me. Okay, I am 48 and a half years old. I've been transgendered since I was like 19, and I've seen a lot of girls run into issues when they do not disclose that they're transgendered. Okay, the young lady was a little bit upset with me in her email. Okay, and she communicated to me, and I'm paraphrasing, right? She communicated to me that it's hard being transgender, okay, and it's hard dating, which I really get, okay, and she usually don't disclose that she is trans until she is, I guess, like in the relationship, or they've been dating for a while, and she feels from her description, when a guy gets to know her well enough, she'll disclose. Okay, so I'm telling her publicly, hi, if you're watching, this is my issue, right? My issue is I have watched over 25 years, okay, and you're much younger. I've watched over 25 years trans women that I knew personally, that I knew of, from New York City to LA, across the entire country, right? Date men, embark on a relationship, and not only not disclose their status, or sorry, don't disclose their sexual orientation or that they're transgendered. They often engage in a sexual act, whether it's, sucking his, his what, giving him oral sex, or in some kind of way, anal sex if they haven't had their surgery. Okay, let's keep it real, right? And they engage in this behavior, and their hope is that the guy is going to see them as a valuable and viable relationship, because sex is involved, and when you have sex, you have emotion. He's getting to know her as a person, right? And so it's almost like a bait and switch situation, because the hope is that he's going to like me for me, and when I finally tell him that I'm transgendered, it's not going to matter that the girl has a penis, right? No, in my opinion. Does it happen? The answer is yes. I have quite a few friends who have played that game, and trust me, it is a game. It's a game that some girls often lose, right? Playing that game is very dangerous, because everyone wants the right to choose. And when you take the right to choose away from a man, okay, you denied him the right to know that you're transgendered, okay, and for some reason you put yourself in a situation where you are giving him oral sex, okay, and that act he might have chosen not to do with you had he known that you were trans, okay? Or he would have, but you'll never know because you denied him that choice. Many girls I know have gotten either seriously hurt or worse and killed, okay? Because once a guy finds out, some men get very angry, they get livid, and then they like freaking snap, okay? And then they snap your neck, okay? So that's why I really, 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 I have pride myself. Not to say that I've never, I would be lying if I said that I never, absolutely never did that. I did that in my youth, okay, when I was younger, and transitioning was a source of power for me because I kind of went from being an obscure kid where I kind of didn't get a lot of attention to when I transitioned, I had no idea that I was going to be like attractive. I really didn't. Okay. And then with my transition came a body out of nowhere. And then of course I had some work done, obviously. But when everything was all put together, I literally was someone else. I was someone else. Like my face was different, my body was different. I was someone else, and now I had this. Now I felt like this superstar, with this body and his face, and I made really poor choices. But luckily for me, I kind of smartened up rather quickly. So I never had any consequences or any negative consequences behind that. In my book, I do describe one or two situations where it was not so cute. Okay. So as an old person talking to a younger person, I would really advise you to be honest. And trust me, there are so many men out here who date trans women. So many. And you don't have to fool them or lie to them or trick them. They are about it. They are with it. Like for real. So that's my advice. I know that you didn't like my spin the first time, and maybe I came across a little cold, or not cold, but a little like matter of fact. But I'm telling you that I've kind of been there and done that. And as an older girl, who's almost 50, okay, I've seen a whole lot. I would say for you to be very careful, okay, because trans women have a history of sexual abuse, of violence, succumbing to violence at a very early age, especially if you're African American and you're transgender. You are far more likely to succumb to violence, to all those other things, because you're trans. Okay, and if you would make different choices, you can actually mitigate some of that harm, if you make more conscious choices. And that's all I'm saying. Okay, and that's me. That's Just Ask Jasmine. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So the next question that I'm going to answer tonight is the actual sex change. So I'm not going to go through the entire surgery. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a link down below, okay, where you can actually watch a sped up version of the surgery, and we can have a conversation. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that you've watched the video, okay, and you had a chance to digest all of that stuff because it is really super complicated. Okay, so let's say that you watched a video. Okay, it's called a vaginoplasty. Okay, and that's the procedure where they actually surgically transform a penis into a vagina, into a functioning vagina. They use parts of the scrotum for the labias, labia minora, labia majora, in and out. They also use part of the head of your penis, which is called the glans, for your clitoris. Okay, so there's a whole lot going on. Okay, so let's say the person, in this case, the male to female trans woman, came out of surgery. Okay, and what she's going to have is she's going to have a very large packing. Okay, after surgery, they go in probably about 6-7 inches, and they actually will pack what's called the neo vagina. Neo means new. The new vagina with gauze. Okay, they'll pack it with gauze to actually keep that new canal patent, which means open for nurses. They'll keep that new canal open. Okay, and that's your new vaginal canal. Okay, so over the first 6-7 days, you're still in the hospital and you're recovering. Okay, on your 7th day, uh, typically some doctors keep you in 6 days, some doctors keep you in 8 days, right? But on your last day, the doctor will unpack all that packing. Okay, they're going to go inside and take out that packing. Very painful. Okay, so the first thing that they do, and this is going to sound absolutely crazy, but it's absolutely true. The first thing they do is they dilate you. Okay, the question that I had was on dilation and how they actually make the vagina and how they keep the vagina open or patent. And here's the answer. Okay, this here is a dilator. Okay, and they come in many different sizes. Okay, so the dilator, okay, as you can see, there are dots for measurement. Okay, this is about 8 inches, a little more. Okay, and you right at the surgery, right? When they finish unpacking you, okay, they will insert this into your neo vagina, your new vagina. Okay, and in most cases, depending on how good the surgeon is, you'll get a really good depth. So you might get maybe 6-7 inches of a depth, right? Okay, this is not the largest and this is not the smallest. Okay, so you are to usually dilate about 3 to 4 times a day: morning, noon, night, for about, some doctors say 25 minutes, some doctors say for 40, some doctors say for an hour, some doctors, it really depends. But you are to actually dilate, and that's going to actually keep the vagina not only open, but it's going to actually heal and kind of like mimic that of a natural vagina. Okay, in the natural flora of a vagina, that's the natural, like the atmosphere of a vagina. Um, it mimics the actual moisture and some of the actual natural bacteria that is housed within a vagina, and that's normal. Okay, um, so the next size, it gets bigger. Okay, is this. So as you can see, I'm going to compare it. So yeah, so this is the next size. Okay, and they're the same length, but they're not the same width. This is about, I would say, an inch and a half in width. Okay, okay, it's calibrated dots. Okay, so when you insert it, you can actually feel how deep you're going. Okay, and you want to actually kind of like manipulate that around. Okay, just so you begin to expand your vagina. Okay, and I'm talking to the girl who actually wanted me to actually do this, right? So, she's having her surgery soon, and my actual trans daughter is having hers too. So, you know, so this is education. Okay, so the biggest one is this, and let me tell you, just to compare. Okay, so this is about 3 inches thick. Okay, by 8 inches long. Okay, this is the same concept to actually keep the vagina patent, and over time your vagina will be able to accommodate larger penises. Okay, if you have something like this, okay, this is small, real small, yeah. So yeah, so if you stop with this size, you won't be able to accommodate nothing, because this is, yeah, yeah, okay, not gonna work. Okay, so this size, I don't know, he have to have a whole lot of coin to, yeah, this is not. So typically the average penis is about this size and this girth. Okay, and then the large one, and once you can accommodate this one in your vagina comfortably, okay, without bleeding, without anything else, you're good to go. And you'll do this 3-4 times a day for about a year, and then of course you do it less. Okay, because at that time your depth should be really set in your vagina. So yeah, and another question was, after surgery, how long would it take for someone to be able to have sex? Okay, so I don't know personally, because actually I am still a virgin, quite frankly, and it's been 2 years. So, and that's in my book too. Why? Um, so yeah, so for me, I wouldn't know. However, my doctor did tell me that roughly around like 4, 5, 6 months, 7 months, depending on what she sees or what he sees during your vaginal exam, they'll give you the okay when you're able to have sex, and then they'll tell you, you be gentle, and all that good stuff. But I will say this: around your second, third month, you're going to go from being numb to having like real intense sensation around your clitoris. And that's going to be very different because I think that when you're male, it's just a different experience, you know. than being a woman. So when you're a female and you feel clitoral stimulation for the very first time, it's extremely intense. It's like really intense, right? So be careful and enjoy it. So I think I answered a lot tonight. We learned a lot tonight. We learned we learned we listen, we learned we learned quite a bit tonight. Okay. So once again, thank you for watching Just Ask Jasmine. Keep the questions coming. They're super interesting and I love answering them. I think I'm gonna save the last question about men who date trans women for the next episode because I received a second message about 2 hours ago. So I want to combine them and make that a whole entire segment. Okay, so I hope that helps. I hope that you learned. I hope that this has stimulated some thought, and most importantly, know this. Know that for trans women to go through all of this, what they're feeling is really, really real and really powerful. To embark on a journey of transition and not knowing the outcome, the desire to be female or male in some cases is really intense. Okay, so the journey to transition is not easy. It's difficult, it's painful, it's expensive, it's nerve-wracking, but for some of us, it is worth it. So thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.